Today we're going to look at negotiation tips for buying a property. In this guide, we're going to show you how to use 3 simple things to basically cut down 5 to 10% of what you're going to pay on your next property. So let's get started.
Tip number 1, find the seller's motivation.
Nathan, I think this is a really important thing because really in real estate, knowledge is power. And if you know why the seller's moving, you can understand if they're in a rush to sell, if they've got lots of time, if they've bought something else and they're trying to juggle lots of debt. So the thing I love with this one is that they call it the 3 Ds in property. So it's death, divorce, and desire to move. So if they're any of those 3 things, you know that they need to get out of there ASAP. And you can use this in crafting your offer, which comes to your next point, Nathan, is there's a way you don't need to pay the list price. So talk us through that, because obviously you see properties on realestate.com.au, they're advertised for offers over $500,000, but is that necessarily what they're going to sell for?
Yeah, I think, as you mentioned before, once you understand the 3 Ds, so as an example, if there was a death in the family, well, understanding that might mean they want to move quickly. So you'll have a chance to offer under the list price, put some terms that are competitive, we'll talk about that in a second, that will see you secure the property, not just based on the price. So you're not just always competing on price. So remember, the motivations of the client or the vendor to sell will help you in getting that price down.
Now, a useful figure you can use here is something called vendor discounting. So that's the difference between what the property is originally listed at, so if they listed for sale at $500,000, and what they eventually sold it for. So they might have ended up selling it for $450,000. So vendor discounting is helpful for you to understand what's happening in the area, if it's slowing down a bit, if people are giving bigger discounts, if you can save 10% off the bat and offer a lot lower than the list price, or if there's little vendor discounting, it means it's quite a brisk market and things are heating up and you might need to offer basically what they're wanting in the property. So Nathan, our next tip, which I think, especially in Brisbane, is so important, are solid gold contract terms. So these are the terms of your contract. So talk us through what they are and how they can help you.
Exactly right, Jaden. So with your contract, you're going to be able to put terms in the contract to sale, mainly around finance, settlement, and building and pest. Now, sharpening these as much as possible will ensure that you're not just competing on price. A good example is finance. So most people are putting anywhere from 14 to 21 days finance. Now, if you're competing with other people or putting down similar offers, change that to 7 days. Now, you want to make sure you've got your pre-approval in place. You're working with a broker that can deliver. Changing to 7 days will mean that you might get that property at a slightly lower market value than putting down 14 to 21 days. Same thing goes with building and pest. Keep it to 7. Most people are putting 7. And settlement, 30 days. I mean, if you want to push it to 21 and then motivate it, change it to 21 days for settlement. So remembering, put down solid terms that will see you win that property and get it at a good price.
Listen, and the experience, in my experience, is that even if you put 5 days for finance, if you get to the 5th day and need a day's extension, a lot of vendors aren't going to rip up your contract and say no. They'll extend you for an extra day. So it's actually worth going a bit sharp there, because like Nathan said, you could actually knock off $10,000 or $20,000 off your purchase price by getting better terms in there. So our last one, Nathan, which I reckon this is an awesome tip and people really don't use it, is negotiating the house price after you've got the building and pest report. So usually, like Nathan said, you might sign a contract, you'll agree with the vendors, yep, I'm going to pay $500,000 for your property, and that's subject to building and pest, shake here, sign here. But then you might get a building and pest report back, and it's horrible. It's got, and it's common in Queensland these days. They might have rot under the sink, there might be termites,
building problems.
It can be anything.
This goes on.
The thing with building and pest reports is if it's non-structural issues, so if it is just a downpipe that's got a hole in it, if it's that the balcony needs to be checked out or balustrades need to be reinforced, you can use this to negotiate tens of thousands off the property. So I know, Nathan, you had one recently where it was basically a bad building and pest report. They got a builder out there, they said it was, $2,000, they got a builder out there that quoted saying, it might cost about $2,000 to fix up, but the retail on that might cost $10,000. The buyers use that with the real estate agent and save $10,000 off their property. It's amazing.
Yeah, and remember, with the negotiation, there's no amount that's too big or too small. So even if it's $2,000, well, that's going to cover your building and pest and your solicitor costs.
Yeah.
So go back, renegotiate that contract, get the price down, and ask the question. Because if you don't ask, you don't know.
No, it's completely right. So there are 3 really gold tips for negotiating when buying a property. So really, it's finding the seller's motivation, the 3Ds, don't forget those. It's about, having solid gold, really sharp, really good contract terms, so you're not negotiating just on price. And it's about using your tools, using that building and pest, and just asking the question. Because you don't know, you can save tens of thousands of dollars off the price just by doing this stuff. So that's it. Which was your favourite tip? Let us know in the comments below. We'd love to hear. And if you've got any questions, get in touch with us at huntergalloway.com.au.